Hey, what's up? Chris Seiter here, founder of Ex-Boyfriend Recovery and Ex-Girlfriend Recovery. Today I'm making this video to teach you how to get your ex to talk to you first. But before you do anything, the first thing I would always recommend anyone who's new to this process to do is to actually stop by our website and take our Ex Recovery Chances quiz. If you've ever wondered if you have a chance of getting your ex back, I've actually put together a special quiz designed to answer that exact question for you. If you're interested in taking this quiz, it should only take you about 2 minutes. All you have to do is simply look in the description of this YouTube video, click on the link that you see there. It will take you to a page that will ask you quite a few questions about you, your relationship with your ex, and your ex, him or herself, and we will be able to run your answers through an advanced algorithm and spit out a score for you so that you know what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back. And then based on your answers, we're actually going to recommend certain things for you to do in your situation. So again, if you want to know what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back, or you want to know what to do next, all you have to do is take our free quiz. Simply look in the description below this YouTube video, click on the link you see there. All right. Let's begin.
All right, today we're going to be talking about how to make your ex talk to you first, especially if you've gone through a breakup and you cannot, for whatever reason, get them to reach out to you first. You're always the one that has to reach out first. And the first thing I'd like to start off talking about is the big misconception I see out there. A lot of people think that there's some sort of magic bullet phrase or magic bullet thing that they can do to all of a sudden make their ex reach out to them every single time. But human beings just don't work that way, so I want to get that assumption out of your head right now. More than anything, if you want your ex to reach out to you first, or you want them to talk to you first, you're going to have to earn the right for them to talk to you first. And the big question you're probably having at this point is, well, how? How can I do that? What do I have to do? Great question. Let me start with an analogy first. Have you ever heard of the Battle of the Bulge? It was a big battle in World War II, arguably one of the most important battles. And this is actually a map of the actual battle itself. And all of the red arrows that you can see, those are all of the German movements. All of the blue arrows are all of the Allied movements. And the interesting thing I want to talk about here is the idea that these two armies fought each other to a standstill for, I think, like a month or two. They're going back and forth. The Allies would push forward, the Germans would push back. The Germans would push forward, the Allies would push back. And they would just kind of go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I even heard a story once where in the United States, they would actually release newspapers every single day with like a little map to see how far the Allied forces had advanced. And, you know, it's almost like kind of watching a sporting event in a weird way, where they would send these newspapers and you could read the newspaper and be like, oh man, they didn't get any farther yesterday or something like that, right? And you're probably sitting here and saying, well, Chris, this isn't a history lesson. This is about exes. But here's the thing. If you want to get your ex to reach out to you first, if you want to get them to talk to you first, you have to be willing to grind away. Just like the Battle of the Bulge, where, you know, it took, you know, Allies eventually won the battle, right? But it took a long time, and it was just, they were grinding each other down back and forth. And that's kind of the mentality that you need to have. Now, the ultimate next question you're probably sitting there and thinking is, okay, well, if I'm going to have to grind my ex down to get him or her to reach out to me first, how do I do that? Well, that's actually where the Zeigarnik effect comes into play. So if you don't know what the Zeigarnik effect is, it's basically where people remember uncompleted tasks better than completed ones. Now, you're sitting here and probably thinking, this video makes no sense, Chris. You're talking about the Battle of the Bulge, World War II. You're talking about some random psychological concept, but I promise you it does make sense. Here's the thing you need to understand. In general, when you look at the conversations, let's just pretend that you have a 3-hour conversation with your ex, right? This is typically what the quality of the conversation is going to look like, right? You're going to start off and the quality is going to build and build and build. And eventually it's going to hit a plateau where, you know, it's going to hit the highest point, the peak, if you will, and it just will never get past that peak. It will always stay kind of around there. And then inevitably, as, you know, the hours tick on, the quality of the conversation goes down. Now, the problem I see with most people is that when they talk to their exes, they actually end conversations with their ex right here. they suck the conversation for everything that it has. And I can understand, I'm certainly like this too. When you're enjoying something, you don't want it to end. But the problem with that is you're not really, if you're ending your conversation here with your ex, right? Let's say you, again, are talking to them for 3 hours straight. Your conversation is really good, but inevitably when you end the conversation with them, it's kind of hit a low point of quality, and you're not really giving your ex any kind of incentive or motivation to want to reach out to you first and continue the conversation, because that's all this is really about. So you end the conversation here, right at the end of sort of your 3-hour conversation. Now, this is a mistake, and here's what I submit to you. I submit that you should be ending conversations here. You should be ending them right at the peak or a little bit before the peak. Why? Well, that's the Zeigarnik effect. People remember interrupted or uncompleted tasks better than completed ones. This is why people will continually tune in to a TV show that ends on a cliffhanger. When they want to know what happens next, they'll turn in next week to find out what happens. This is why when you leave your house for work and you think, oh, crud, did I leave my hairdryer on? It annoys you to the point where you're willing to turn around and check. And that's actually a story that happens to my wife all of the time. I remember there was one time we were going to be driving to Florida as our family from Texas when I was a kid. My mom was obsessed or worried that she had left the hairdryer on. And so we got about an hour into our trip and she was like, I don't remember if I turned my hairdryer on or not, or unplugged it or not. And we ended up having to turn around because she was so worried about it. People tend to remember uncompleted tasks better than completed ones. And the interesting thing about it is if you end a conversation at the highest point, at the point where the quality is the highest, you're giving your ex an incentive to take action. Why? Because they want that task completed. They feel like, oh my God, this great conversation was interrupted. I need to find a way to continue it. Now, the other thing I want to warn you about, let's kind of take the battle of the bulge and this Zeigarnik effect and the quality of the conversations and kind of combine them. The biggest misconception people have when it comes to this is they think that all they have to do is do this one time. They just have to end the conversation one time at the high point, or one time a little bit before the high point or a little bit after the high point, and it's going to create enough incentive for their ex to start reaching out to them first. But I kind of would again point you to the Battle of the Bulge. Look at the Battle of the Bulge and look and see how those two armies kind of grinded it out. It's a little bit like that, where you're going to have to kind of do this a lot of times before the pattern is established and ingrained enough for your ex to reach out to you first. Now, while that is going on, there's one other thing I want you to be doing, and that is I want you, in the meantime, indirectly prime the ideal image that you want to be perceived as. So far when we've been talking about the Battle of the Bulge, or the idea of, hey, you have to earn the right for them to want to reach out to you first. You have to end conversations at the high point. Those are all very relatively direct ways to achieve our goal. But really where this strategy starts firing on all cylinders is when you combine the direct ways of achieving the goal with the indirect ways of achieving the goal. And the indirect ways is actually to use social media to your advantage, right? Prime the ideal image so that your ex wants to reach out to you and ask you about it. And probably there's no better of an example than something that actually happened in our private Facebook group relatively recently. There's a member of our private Facebook group who took what I said to heart and actually implemented this. So she understood that her ex was a very outdoors type of a person, right? He liked to do lots of things outdoors, and she was actually the polar opposite. She understood that she needed to change his perception of that. So what she started to do was started to post random, videos or pictures of her doing outdoors like things. She would, go outside and go biking. Right, she would go biking and post a video or a picture. She would go, her ex was really into golfing. She would go into the driving range and take a video of being golfing. And the interesting thing is, after this happened, she noticed that her ex, believe it or not, her ex would reach out to her and ask her about those specific things. And I find that really interesting because not only can indirectly priming your ideal image be a good thing for your own ego and your own sort of confidence booster, but it can also be a great hook to start a conversation for your ex, especially if you do something noteworthy and interesting enough to have him or her want to reach out and ask you about that thing specifically because they saw it from afar. It's a great way of doing things like that. So that is how you get an ex to talk to you first. Again, if you want more information about this and you say, well, Chris, this is really kind of cool video. You have a lot of cool ideas and concepts here, but I'm a little still confused on the Zeigarnik effect and ending conversations at the high point. Don't worry, I've actually got a companion article that goes along with this video so that if you're wanting an explanation of sort of like what I'm talking about or a little bit more in-depth discussion on things in this video, simply look in the description of this YouTube video, and there should be a link to the companion article that actually covers everything we talked about here. So I'll see you guys next time.